Hello friends, welcome back. We are today at the third lecture of the first module, Introduction to Groups. So till the last lecture we discussed about that what is a group, how we can define group, what are the types of group and how groups can be formed, or what is the process of development of group. Today I will discuss about the another aspect of group dynamics, that is group work. In the initial discussion of this unit, I discussed about that group is a term, it is a very broad term, that where the person as an individual can achieve his own goals and the organizations can also achieve a common goal or task. Now, when I am talking about group work, then this is another aspect of group dynamics where we will discuss about that how group as a term, normative term, can be applicable in other areas of life where an individual or group of members can function effectively. So, at this point of discussion, when we are talking about group work, it is about association of members who come together to resolve the life problems of an individual or group members, and how based on cooperation and learning people can enhance their lifestyles or they can experience well-being. So, to define work group, it is an association of members who benefit from cooperation and learning and improve the overall output of the activity when compared to doing it alone. For example, a person who is suffering from medical illness, mental illness or any other psychological problem such as anxiety or depression, the person finds as an individual a very difficult task to cope up with such kind of disorders. Under such circumstances, the person as an individual would require some assistance, some help to overcome or cope up with those kind of day-to-day life problems. So, under such circumstances, group work plays a major role and has a very strong and broad applicability in enhancing the life of people. So, group work is something which helps individuals to accommodate individual differences within the group itself, develop skills, that is communication, collaboration, critical thinking, problem solving, and develop socially acceptable attitudes or create conforming standards of behavior and judgment. Now, these type of group work, when we are talking about, they have an overall application or implication on an individual's life. That means as an individual and at the same time at the group level. So, people with different disorders or problems or conflicts come together, they interact, they communicate based on their experiences, they share their ideas, opinions, and they present themselves, their life in a way that other members also get to relate themselves with the same person and they find solution to their problems. So, group work is a moral practice that aims to promote a positive behavioral change in the group. Now, this change is completely based on cooperation and learning. What a person learns from the other group members, what group members present to one individual various type of solutions to an individual. It can be substance abuse, it can be mental illness, it can be any medical illness, it can be death of a close friend or relative for which the person has undergone depression and anxiety, it can be any psychological disorder such as insomnia, eating disorder, or it can be relational conflicts. So, group work in terms of moral practice helps a person to develop some potential alternative viewpoints and solutions to a problem. Group work allow clients to work on a goal that may appear to be large or complex for them to handle on their own, allow clients from various backgrounds to contribute their unique knowledge, experience or skill to a project or task, as well as explain the project the perspectives to others. That means, based on our experience, a person can share the perspectives from different viewpoints, beliefs and values, and what the other person then can take out that solution for his own problem. Now, group work also has certain other aims, that is allowing clients to teach and contribute to one another, providing clients with a structured experience to encourage problem solving while providing them with a set of new practice skills that are applicable to their unique environmental circumstances. And last, from a practical standpoint, group work also fosters interpersonal skills which are highly valued by employers and most importantly promotes participation and interaction. Just now I said that it is completely based on cooperation, interaction and learning. The more we share, the more we interact, the more we are coming up with different perspectives, the more we are coming up with different alternatives for finding a solution to a common problem. Now comes types of group work. It is not that group work is only a term. There are different kind of group works that help person to find a solution to their problems. Now there are basically broadly two types of group work. The first is command and task group and the other is therapy groups. Now command and task group is completely has organizational significance. So if I talk about command and task group, so command group is comprised of superiors and subordinates who carry out orders on the basis of the authority within the group. The best example can be of any particular department, for example, a marketing department of any organization whose function is to take care of the marketing sales of a particular product that has been launched in the market. So, in the marketing department there is a general manager, under general manager is the regional manager, and under regional manager there are several sub regional managers who are doing their respective jobs and they are communicating all the information through a particular hierarchical channel. So, the idea is that when we are talking about command groups, they have the assigned roles and duties to be performed and instructed by the management and the higher authority, and everyone is maintaining a channel of communication to maintain the information and at the same time to maintain the sales and marketing of a particular product. So, this is a command group where superordinate and subordinate, they all are in hierarchy, they all are working in sync and they all are working all together for a common objective, that is maintaining the sales and marketing of a new product that has been launched in the market. So, this is a command group. Now, the basic feature of this group is that they are permanent in nature and there is a hierarchical chart. Just now I said it is general manager, then we have regional manager and then we have area or sub regional managers. So, the existence of such groups is permanent, they are relatively permanent and understand certain regular activities of the organization. An example could be a marketing manager having the group of sales personnel under his department. It can be similarly on the similar lines, it can be a finance department also and it can be a marketing department. But the significance is that there is a hierarchy in the chart and how the information is flowing so effectively to understand the market situation and at the same time the financial situation. The other is the task group. It is a group of individuals who come together to accomplish a certain task or a job assigned to them. Now, the most important feature of this task group is that people or managers coming from different areas come together to achieve that particular task. It can be that these groups are created to capitalize the expertise of different individuals towards the accomplishment of a particular project. Thus, task groups can be formed beyond the lines of hierarchical chart of the organization. For instance, it can be any committee that has been formed to resolve any conflict in any organization. For example, any financial discrepancy has been observed in the organization and how to resolve it, because so many culprits are also there and at the same time so many convicts are also there. So, to understand the whole complexity of the situation, a committee is being formed to resolve one particular problem in the organization. So, to resolve and come to the conclusion to the financial discrepancy that has been observed, there has been there can be a committee which involves personnel from different departments. It can be marketing, it can be sales, it can be financial, it can be any management department or HR, where all the hiring practices are also being considered or scrutinized for one particular resolution of a problem. So, this is a task group. Now, under such kind of group, when the task is achieved, the group disbands and people or managers tend to take or resume their positions later on, but the only thing is that they come together to resolve a particular problem or come to a common decision. So, this is a task group. So, the difference between the task and command group is that command group is a permanent group and task group is not a permanent group within the organization, because they are coming together for one particular task and then disband. This is the organizational significance of command and task group. Next comes the therapy groups. Now, these are the groups which has high significance when we talk about that how an individual, when fails or finds it difficult to resolve his psychological problems or other kind of day to day life problems, then how a person can approach some groups which help or aid in helping that individual to overcome his day to day life problems. For this, psychologists have identified certain therapy groups, or we can also say group therapies has been introduced to help people to overcome their mental health problems, mental illness or psychological disorders. So, when we talk about therapy groups is a form of psychotherapy that involves one or more mental health practitioners who deliver psychotherapy to several individuals in each session. That means, there can be a group of people who are suffering from different kind of mental illness or disorders, and they can come together to resolve the issues, their mental health issues. So, this is a group therapy. That means, group therapy groups are basically providing psychotherapies to people who are suffering from different kind of mental health problems. So, this type of therapy is widely available at a variety of locations, including private therapeutic practices, hospitals, mental health clinics and community centers, which is very much common these days as well. In every kind of health centers and hospitals, government centers and clinics, they all provide such type of treatments so that people can solve or resolve their daily life problems. So, when we talk about group therapy as a type of group work, it is commonly utilized to help clients develop support networks, improve communication skills and practice putting themselves in the shoes of others. That means, when people are coming together, they share their experiences and they try to explain the person with mental health problems to step into the shoes of the other person and then realize that what is the intensity of the problem and how it can be resolved with any potential alternative. So, this is the basic aim of group therapy. So, clients explore different topics in depth and participate in activities. However, there are other approaches to group therapy that are more specialized and issue focused. Issue focused here means that the practitioners, group therapist can actually help people to overcome their different kind of problems based on different kind of approaches. It can be based on information sharing along with family members, it can be based on social skills, it can be based on support groups, it can be based on some kind of therapies such as cognitive therapies. So, the objective of group therapy is to provide assistance to people who are suffering from attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, depression, eating disorders, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, phobias, post traumatic stress disorder, substance use disorder or social anxiety. It can also help people to overcome with grief, obesity, chronic pain, weight loss, anger management, domestic violence, cultural trauma, chronic illness. Cultural trauma, for example, any employee or any child who has been transferred based on his family to other city or country, a person finds lot of difficulty to adjust with the cultural variation that he or she is confronting in the new city. So, this causes lot of anxiety because food problem is there, language problem is there, and how the person tries to communicate, this creates lot of anxiety within the person and how it can be resolved. So, these are the basic aim of group therapy, that what it can help to cure. So, when we are talking about group therapy, then this therapy can be exercised based on certain principles, that what is the aim and at what, based on what principles this therapy can be exercised on an individual or on group of members. So, the key principles of group therapy is altruism, where people share their strengths and weaknesses to the other members of the group and try to gain more strength based on interaction and communication from the other members. It focuses on catharsis. It is a psychological term given by Sigmund Freud in his theory of psychoanalysis, where the person is free to express whatever comes to his mind without any hesitation, and the person expresses the whole heart, mind and body, that what are his suppressed desires or unconscious motives and what it has led to the downfall in his lifestyle. So, it is about sharing feelings and experiences with a group of people and can help relieve pain, guilt and stress. That means, we have a guilt, it is in our unconscious mind, but we have no other way out or platform to express. So, catharsis, getting involved in the process of catharsis, it refers that the person has a platform to express whatever comes to his mind without any guilt and hesitation, and the person can relieve his emotional load as well to the other person. The other is the corrective recapitulation of the primary family group. That means that when people are together in group therapy, people can recapitulate, here means that they can rethink, they can memorize again their traumas and experiences and share again with the group members, so that the group members can understand their and the other person's situation and find out a better solution to their problem. So, the therapy group is much like a family in some ways. Within the group, each member can explore how childhood experiences contributed to personality and behaviors, their childhood experiences, their youth, their adulthood, what trauma, family trauma, domestic violence they have experienced and how they have coped up with those issues. So, they also learn to avoid behaviors that are destructive or unhelpful in real life, because when one person is sharing, one person is engaged in recapitulation, then the other person who is listening, then immediately he or she gets accused that what behavior should be avoided and what behavior should be exhibited to cope up with the problem. The other is development of socialization techniques. Now, the main aim of group therapy is, or the principle of group therapy is that it is a great place to practice new behaviors. That means, allowing members to express, allowing members to experience and experiment new ways out to cope up with their problems and face failures and fears. So, this is the development of social life. When there is more communication, there is more interaction, then people experiment, because there is no fear, there is no inhibitions, and people tend to cope up in a better way. The other principle is existential factors. That means, whenever a person has landed up in a different kind of psychological problems, then it is not that only the external factors are responsible for those problems. Sometimes an individual itself is also responsible, but how to make that person realize that whatever the situation they are into, they are themselves responsible also. So, to make the existence of that particular person very strong, then this type of principle plays a major role, where while working within a group, the members offer support and guidance at one point, and members also realize that they are responsible for their own lives, actions and choices. The other is imitative behavior, that is modeling, that when individuals are interacting, when there is lot of communication and sharing of experiences, then people can also model or imitate the behavior of the other person, so as to resolve that kind of problem in his life. So, individuals can model the behavior of other members of the group and observe and imitate the behavior of the therapist in correct manner. It is not only about communication, it is also about observation, it is also about imitation, it is also about modeling the behavior of the other person. Now, behavior, that means the correct behavior, modeling of the correct behavior of the other person. The other principle is it instills hope. When we are part of that group therapy, then when we interact with other members, we realize that there are other people also who have so much of problems in their life, and it gives us hope that we will be able to cope up with their problems and resolve our conflicts. So, the group contains members at different stages of the treatment process. Suppose any person who is going through psychotropic condition, the other person can observe that person, that there is still a hope that when treatment is being availed, then there is high hope that I can also recover from any particular problem. So, this gives high hope to the person of the other group of that particular group therapy, that he or she can also cure or overcome any problem. So, seeing people who are coping or recovering gives hope to those at the beginning of the process. The other principle is therapeutic learning. By interacting with other people, sharing information and receiving feedback from the group and the therapist, members of the group can gain a greater understanding of themselves. That means, communication is the most important part or salient feature of group therapy. The more the communication is there, the more interaction is there, more is the sharing of the information, and more the person tends to learn how to maintain interpersonal connection or relation with the other members that can help to resolve any psychological problem. The other principle is universality. This is very important to understand this term as a principle of group therapy is that when a person becomes the part of any group therapy, when based on the experiences, the person can realize that whatever problems he or she is facing or the other person is facing, the problems are universal. That means, every person has gone through or is going through some different kind of untoward experiences which has made him a person of a particular kind. So, universality here means that people has to understand that that problems are universal and every problem can be resolved, even it has been approached based on group therapy. The other is group cohesiveness. That means, when people are together in group therapy, they establish a connection with each other, they establish interpersonal relationship with each other, and there is a sense of belongingness and acceptance, which gives a very strong social support to every person, that helps an individual and the group to achieve the common goal. Even an individual can at personal level can resolve his problems, can understand his own problem as well, and understand the other person's problem while being cohesive. And the last is affordability. It is highly affordable. When people are undertaking any therapy, then that too at group level, then it becomes highly affordable in the sense that lot of time is saved and people in larger group has more chance to share their problems and find a better solution to their problem. That means, this reduces the cost of a single participant while working in the group, while resolving their problems at group level will be more affordable, and the person can save his time and money. So, next comes types of group therapies. Just now we discussed about that on what principles the group therapies function. Now, at the same time, when we talk about types of group therapies, it constitutes that how and to what extent different kind of problems can be resolved based on approaches to different kind of problems. Now, this approach is different kind of group work. How a particular group work is an approach to resolve different kind of problems, and they have a very different approach to interact, communicate to resolve those problems. So, there are some different kind of group therapies. The first is cognitive behavioral groups, then it is interpersonal group, then it has psychoeducational groups, skills development group, and support groups. So, cognitive behavioral groups, this is the most effective and most popular group therapy that is being exercised by psychologists at group level, where it centers on identifying and changing inaccurate or distorted thinking patterns, emotional responses and behaviors. A person who has gone through some trauma, some medical illness, mental issues, the person becomes anxious, there is and also undergoes depression. How a person develops some distorted thinking patterns that can hamper his day to day life functioning. So, cognitive behavioral therapy is a therapy that it helps a person to streamline his thought patterns in a very regulated manner, where emotions play a major role. That how an event has happened or occurred, how we interpret based on our previous experiences, and how we respond to that event. So, sometimes that response to that event is absolutely distorted, and it creates a chain of negativity or negative behavioral patterns. How to correct, how to streamline such type of thinking, distorted thinking patterns, their group behavioral, cognitive behavioral groups play a major role. The other is interpersonal groups. It is a group approach to the treatment of psychological, behavioral and emotional problems that emphasize a curative influence. Curative influence means that when we are exploring and interacting with the other person, then we are actually curing ourselves, because when we share, there is lot of curing. Why? Because when there is sharing, there is more capacity for the person to explore to different kind of solutions to the problem. So, there is more curative influence of exploring and of exploring the interactions of group members, including the analysis of group events, experiences and relationships. That means, it serves as a social microcosm. Here social microcosm has been used specifically in this type of approach, that we find small example to understand a bigger situation. It is a social microcosm, that maybe we say that our problem is very big, but when we interacting in the group, we will find that we will be able to understand our own situation in a better way while exemplifying the situation of the other person. So, interpersonal group therapy is something which is based on social microcosm and deep interactions and exploration of interactions with other group members. So, in this approach, the group serves as a social microcosm that provides corrective emotional experiences in the here and now via a therapist who acts as both a participant and an observer. That means, we find insights in our daily lives outside and inside of the therapist and ourselves. So, it is also called as interactive group psychotherapy, where communication is very curative, that the more we are interacting, the more we are expressing, the more we are exploring to different kind of solutions to our problems. The other is psychoeducational groups. As the term implies, psychoeducational groups is a form of group therapy which is completely focused on providing education through information sharing, where the family members also get involved in the life of the person and the group itself. So, in this kind of therapy, the therapist maybe in the initial stage would not provide any solution to the problem of the person, but the therapist can make aware the person and the family members the exact situation that what the person is in and how it can be resolved later on. So, based on information sharing, that means collecting information and then sharing information to the other family members of the group, this is a psychoeducational group. So, here psychoeducational groups focus on mental health conditions and help clients learn about potential triggers. That means, sometimes family members also do not realize that what can be the potential trigger that is leading our person or other family member to this kind of problem. So, information is being given to the person itself and to his or her family members that what can be the potential trigger and how the person can develop a coping mechanism to avoid those problems and how to avoid pitfalls in the future. So, it is all about first of all sharing information with the members or people who are associated to that particular person. The other is skill development group. These groups encourage people to meet with similar interest, build skills in various areas and fill time with something meaningful. They are designed to help individuals maintain abstinence and cultivate skills relevant to their lifestyle, to avoid triggers, cope and urges, relax and solve real life problems. That means picking people who are having similar interest, and then based on communication and sharing information, they find some meaningful solutions to their problems. So, this is a skill development group where we develop interest, we build skills where we find meaningful solutions and how to avoid those triggers. Now, it is completely based that in what manner I can develop common interest and avoid triggers, and at the same time maintain abstinence. That means how to refrain from any negative action. For example, how to refrain from heavy drinking or substance abuse or consumption. So, this is all about that how we develop certain skills which helps us to avoid and refrain from negative patterns of behavior based on developing certain interest. So, in this type of self development groups, individuals maintain a powerful effect on psychological functioning and maintain confidence and build a healthy lifestyle, because they are only interacting with people whom they share common interest. That means picking up best people for oneself and then sharing the interest. So, definitely the interaction becomes extremely streamlined, and at the same time the lifestyle also becomes extremely resolved. And the last is support groups. These are developed to join people together who are dealing with similar difficult circumstances, and they offer a safe place when a person get information that is practical, constructive and helpful. That means at one point the person can also pick up people with similar groups, and at the same time the person also can look for assistance where there are group where all the members are facing similar kind of problems, and they try to interact to find out a better solution to their problem. So, this is a brief overview that I have given based on the types of group therapies. Thank you so much.